Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Advanced Grammar from the Islamic University of Gaza. This is Rafat Al-Araya. Today, we talk about perhaps the second most important topic of the whole course. It's the adjective clauses or adjectival clauses. We're going to learn almost everything in brief about them and talk a little bit about how to reduce the clauses into phrases, and we'll see how again the whole course comes back again at where we started talking about the phrase and the clause. This is a reminder that I am taking this, basing the whole lecture on the material from Understanding and Using English Grammar by Betty Azar and Stacy Hagen. And again, I want you to take the time to pause the video and try to answer these questions. Again, these are questions that have errors. They have grammatical mistakes, mostly related to adjective clauses. I want you to read them and to try to fix them before we begin. And then after you finish the class, you go back to the questions and check your answers. If you notice, there's this number because this is chapter 13 from Understanding and Using English Grammar. 1 means issue number 1, issue number 2, issue number 3, issue number 4, issue number 5. So these are issues that we will be discussing here, and you can have a look at the book for more details and more exercises. Okay, you can pause the video now to see where the errors are and fix them. This is the second group. Pause the video now and try to read the questions, the statements, and see how you can fix them. Again, they're basically related to adjectival clauses. Okay, we move. So when we talk about adjective clause and adjective clause pronouns used as subjects, we start with who, which, and that. Look at these examples. The first sentence, I thanked the woman, she helped me, is a correct sentence. Actually, it's two sentences, two simple sentences. Remember, we said early in the course, in order to make your English, your writing, your speaking, everything interesting, it has to have a variety of sentence types. Writing all simple sentences is bad, is poor style. All complex sentences is also equally poor. So a mixture of both, and learning when to use a short sentence or a long sentence or a simple sentence or compound or complex sentence when one is required is a really advanced level that I try to showcase here. So I thank the woman, she helped me. If you say I thank the woman, semicolon, small she helped me, it's also an interesting compound sentence. But remember, if you say I thanked the woman, comma, she helped me, this is wrong because a comma doesn't connect sentences. This sentence, you don't have to repeat he, she, etc. You can use the adjectival pronouns. I thanked the woman who helped me. I thanked the woman who helped me. So I just replaced who, she, by who with who. And look at the full stop, it's gone because this is now one complex sentence. We have one subject, one verb, one subject, one verb, and the connector here, the subordinator is who. Now, when you use who to talk about people, you can replace who with that. I thanked the woman that helped me. Both sentences are correct and acceptable. Now, if we talk about things, we use which. So the book is mine, it is on the table. The book that is on the table, or which is on the table, is mine. In this case, if you talk about things, you don't use who, but you can still replace who by replace which with that, exactly like you replaced who with that. So who is used for people, which is used for things, that is used for both. Look at this sentence. The book is on the table. The book that is on the table is mine. The book which is on the table is mine. But the second sentence is incorrect. You don't say the book is mine that is on the table, because the adjectival clause should be closest to the noun it describes. So sentence number one, we say the woman. Soon after, you want to talk about the woman, you want to describe the woman who, the woman that, the book that, the book which. So here you say the book that is on the table, which is on the table. You don't say the book is mine that is on the table. It's incorrect, because the adjectival clause has to come soon after the noun it describes. This is another exercise, a very interesting exercise. It tells you choose all the possible completions for each sentence. So there are at least two answers, sometimes maybe three, that are correct. Don't add commas or capital letters. Don't change anything. Just choose the right answers. If you say, I read a scary article, space, blank, detailed how easy it is for someone to steal your ID, your identity. So here there is a subject verb, I read, and then there is another verb, detailed. It needs a subject. But nothing here means nothing, like you use nothing, you keep it using nothing. So this is wrong, because you have to have a subject. There's a verb here that needs a subject. If you use C, so nothing is wrong, D is wrong. It is also wrong, because remember, you can't connect sentences with nothing or with a comma. You don't just simply say, I live in Gaza, nothing, no full stop, no semicolon. I live in Gaza, I study English. There has to be some kind of connector or a full stop or semicolon. So I read a scary article. Who doesn't work, because article is a thing, not a person. So the right answer here is that. If there is which, one of the options is which is correct. With C, it can be correct if there is a full stop and then capital C, or semicolon. You keep the I in it, small capital I in it. But again, the question says don't add commas or add capital letters. So people on a smartphone have a higher rate of identity theft. People on a smartphone. If you say people on a smartphone, this is a correct sentence. But the problem here is that we have another verb. You don't use two verbs to the same subject without a coordinator, without and, without a subordinate, without another subject. So there is a subject that has two verbs. So we bring another verb to one of the verbs, another subject to one of the verbs. So if you say D is wrong, you need to add something. People on a smartphone have. No. If it is people on a smartphone and have, possible. So D is wrong. We talk about people are people. So which is wrong? For people, we use who, and we can replace who with that. So people who own a smartphone have a higher rate of identity theft. People that own a smartphone have a higher rate of identity theft is equally correct. So when we talk about adjective clauses and clause pronouns used as the object of a verb, not the subject. Okay, so the man was Mr. Jones. I saw him. So the repeated thing here is in the second sentence. That's the major part. That's the part we want to make it part of the adjective clause. I saw him. Him is an object. We have many options here. Look at this. The man whom for object. Whom I saw was Mr. Jones. But whom is more formal, more written. Many people don't like to use whom in spoken English, so they prefer to use who. Both are correct. But in your exams, I prefer that you write whom in this case for object. The man whom I saw was Mr. Jones, or the man who I saw was Mr. Jones. You can replace, wait a minute, you can replace who and whom here with that. So the man that I saw was Mr. Jones. Now, remember this is important. If the adjective clause is object, it can be deleted. See, look at this sentence. The man I saw was Mr. Jones. Originally, it is the man I saw, the man whom I saw, or that I saw was Mr. Jones. So look at how many options you have. The man whom I saw was Mr. Jones. The man who I saw was Mr. Jones. The man that I saw was Mr. Jones. The man I saw was Mr. Jones. Beautiful way of, again, varying your sentence structure. The movie was not very good. We saw it. So it is object here. We talk about the movie in the second part of the sentence. Here, the second part, it's in the object position. We saw it last night. So because movie is a thing, we don't use who or whom, we use which. The movie that we saw last night wasn't very good. The movie which we saw last night wasn't very good. Or the movie we saw last night wasn't very good. Remember, this last sentence here, the movie we saw last night wasn't very good. And even this one, the man I saw was Mr. Jones. But both complex sentences without even using a subordinator. Remember, a simple sentence is one subject, one verb, one main thought. A compound sentence, two main clauses, yani subject plus verb, subject plus verb, connected in the middle by fanboys or a semicolon, right? Now the subordinate sentences, at least one main clause and one dependent or subordinate clause connected with a subordinator. So I usually tell you, look at the sentence. If it has one subject, one verb, it's simple. If it has one subject, one verb, plus one subject, one verb, and connected with the fanboys in the middle, it's a compound sentence. Other than this, it's a complex sentence if it is correct. Even if you don't see the subordinator. Many students look at I can't see who, I can't see because, I can't see which, I can't see until. So I can't tell whether this is complex or not. No, this sentence is complex. But where is the subordinator? Where's the connector? It's deleted because it is in the object form. So the man whom I saw, look at these sentences that many students write, and they are very incorrect, very common and incorrect. If you use who or whom or that or which, you have to delete the subject or the object this pronoun refers to, because you replace. If you say this is the man I saw him last week, you delete him when you connect. This is the man whom I saw last week. You don't say whom I saw him, because you're using two objects here. So the man whom or who I saw was Mr. Jones. If you say I saw him, this is completely wrong. So this is incorrect. The man that I saw him was Mr. Jones, also repeating that here. Even if you delete the object adjective pronoun, him, whom, or who, or which, or that, you still delete the object. So the man I saw him was Mr. Jones. And look at this. This is very, very important. I'll be asking you questions like these in your quizzes and your final exam. The sentence, for example, says, I bought some books, okay, comma, some of them are expensive. I gave you this example before. This is wrong because subject verb connected with a comma, wrong. A comma cannot connect. Please stop making this mistake. Please stop connecting sentences with a comma. It's not a connector. Now, this very same sentence can be fixed just by replacing them with which. I bought some books, some of which are expensive. Now, so what's the difference? The difference is that them is not a connector, it's not a subordinator, while which is a subordinator. It's like because and when and after and before, until and until, etc., etc. So I bought some books, some of which are expensive is correct. And there is another exercise here. Choose the possible completions for each sentence. Don't add commas or capital letters. So stick to what the sentence shows you. Tell me about the people you met when you were in Norway. People who, correct. You replace who with who, because tell me about the people you met. This is object, so whom is correct, but it's not in the list. It is actually here. Whom is correct. You can remember, always replace, not always actually, you can replace whom and which. Sorry, you can replace whom with who if there is no preposition before whom. I'll show you this in a bit. So whom is correct, who is correct, that is correct. Remember, because this is object, it can be deleted. Nothing is correct. So A, B, D, E is incorrect. Why is C incorrect? Remember, if you think C is correct, I'm sorry to say this, it means you need to go back to lecture number 1 and try to understand the course properly. If there are two sentences, you can't simply put them next to each other without a connector, without a full stop, separating them or connecting them. And remember, a comma doesn't connect. So tell me about the people you met. No, the people, أصل الجملة, originally the sentence was you met them. We delete that pronoun because we use whom, who, that, etc. So you can pause this video, do the exercises, and continue afterwards. Now, adjective clause pronouns used as the object of a preposition. This is what I'm telling you about. Remember, you can replace who with whom and that. You can replace which with that. However, if you use a preposition before them, you don't replace them. If the preposition locks the door to whom or to which. She is the woman I told you about her. Look at her, object. Where is her in the second sentence? Bye-bye, because we have whom. So this is the woman about whom I told you. There's no her. Remember, you don't say whom about. You don't say whom to whom, about whom, for whom. Always the preposition comes before whom. Always the preposition comes before which. So she is the woman who I told you about. She's the woman whom I told you about. She's the woman that I told you about. She's the woman I told you about. All beautiful, all correct sentences. Second group, to use which, the music was good. We listened to it. So the music here, the pronoun it, if we connect the sentences, it has to go. Bye-bye it. The music to which we listened last the music to which we listened last night was good. The music that we listened to last night was good. The music which we listened to last night was good. The music we listened to last night was good. By which, because it's object, we delete it in this case. Again, this is a very important exercise. Correct the errors in the adjective clauses. These are adjective sentences with adjective clauses, each with an error. Pause the video and try to fix these errors. And if you have questions, you can always ask me about things you don't understand or you can't comprehend. Okay, we continue. Using whose. Whose is for position. When you have a pronoun like his and their, etc. So I know the man, his son, his bike was stolen. I know the man whose bike was stolen. Easy. The son, the student writes well. I read her composition. The student whose composition I read, or I read, it's not clear, writes well. I worked at a company whose employees wanted to form a union. That's the boy whose parents you met. That's the boy. Look at these sentences. These are things you have to pay attention to. If you say, that's the boy whose parents you have met, originally the sentence is, that's the boy his you met his parents. So that's the boy. It becomes, that's the boy whose parents you met. You could say that's the man. It doesn't have to be his or their. It could be a possessive noun like the man's son won. Yeah, you say this, you pronounce it one, like one. One, same pronunciation. One scholarship. You don't say won, scholarship. So how do you connect this? That's the man. Again, that's the man whose son won one scholarship. Okay, fixed son. However, if you say that's the boy, okay, sorry about this. We start a new here. If you say that's the boy who is in my class, this is originally that's the boy who plus is. Who is, it's different. This is subject who, that's whose. This, by the way, same pronunciation. That's the boy who's in my class. But if you look at this, who is or who has, but this one, whose should be followed by a noun. Whose bike, whose composition, whose employees, whose parents, whose son, etc. That's the boy who is, who's been living, because we have a past participle, this is has, who's been living with our neighbors since his mother became ill. Whose and whose have the same pronunciation. Whose here can mean who is or who has. How can you not confuse this? Remember, whose, this one, is always followed by a noun. Now, look at this using where in adjective clauses. We spoke about where as in noun clauses before, I guess. The building is very old. He lives there, or he lives in the building or in that building. It becomes the building where he lives for place. Remember, you don't say when for time, where for place. The building in which he lives. If you use, remember, if you use a preposition, you keep which, you keep whom. And the preposition always comes before which and whom. The building in which he lives is very old. The building which he lives in is very old. The building that he lives in is very old. The building he lives in is very old. Here we deleted which because it's an object. So the new issue here, if we have here a preposition that to refer to place, we delete the preposition, we use where because it replaces which and the preposition. Yani where exactly means here in which. So you don't say the building where he lives in. Khalas, we use where by in. We use in for time, similar to this. It's a little bit sometimes confusing when. But if we talk about the day, I'll never forget the day I met you on that day. Remember preposition with days on. I'll never forget the day when I met you, on which I met you. I'll never forget the day that I met you. I'll never forget the day I met you. You delete which and that because it's an object. Using adjective clauses to modify pronouns. Sometimes we use a pronoun. Look at this. We can modify pronouns, not only nouns, by adjective clauses. There is someone I want you to meet. Everything he said was pure nonsense. Anybody, but everything here and someone and everything, these are pronouns. Anybody who wants to come is welcome. So adjective clauses here can modify the indefinite pronouns. Indefinite because they can refer to anybody, someone, everybody, anybody, everything, for things. So objective or object pronouns who or whom, that, and which are usually omitted in the adjective clauses in this case. It could be there is someone whom I want you to meet. So it's preferably it's preferable that you delete whom or who or that or which in these sentences when you use indefinite pronouns. This is just something very quick. Paula was the only one I knew at the party. The only one that whom I knew at the party, but you delete it. Scholarships are available for those who need financial assistance. Adjective clauses can modify the ones and those. So for those, for one, Paula was the only one. The plural of one is ones. Paula and Saeed were the only ones I knew at the party. Here there is a deleted whom or that after ones. Look at this beautiful sentence. Scholarships are available for, it could be for students who need financial assistance or for those who need financial assistance. And look at this interesting idea also, piece of information. Look at this. We sometimes fear that which we don't understand. We fear that. We fear anything originally which we don't understand. The bread my mother makes is much better than that. Yani, than the bread which you can buy at the store. So we replace here, that replaces a phrase. The adjective clause with which can also be used to modify the demonstrative pronouns. Look at this sentence. The book says it's incorrect. I, who am a student at this school, come from a country in Asia. You don't usually use who to modify. Adjective clauses are almost never used to modify the personal pronouns I. Native speakers would find this wrong. They wouldn't say it or wouldn't write it. Like, they would do it in a different way. It is I who am, although it's a really awkward expression. It is I who am responsible. And look at this sentence. This is beautiful and it's very common in English. He who laughs last laughs best. He who, you say he who, but usually you don't say I who. He who, in Arabic it means من يضحك أخيرا يضحك أكثر. He who. There is another beautiful saying in English. He who, again meaning man. He who is down needs, fear no fall. If you're watching this again, if you're listening to this lecture, can you tell me if this is need or needs and why? I'll give 2 marks for students who first answer this, just to check who of you who's watching very quickly and trying to answer and follow up. He who is down need fear no fall or needs fear no fall. So the first example is possible but very formal and uncommon. It is I. It's like Hamlet saying, this is I, Hamlet, the Dane. He who laughs last laughs best. But remember, he who. You don't say who laughs last laughs last, because we still need a verb. Because who laughs last, this is one clause. He laughs best is the second clause. The second is well known. It's very common, meaning anyone or any person. Look at this interesting part. Many students ask, okay, what about the punctuation marks? Sometimes punctuation marks are very tricky here. Look at this. Do not use punctuation marks if the adjective clause is necessary to identify the noun. So no commas if the adjective clause is important, necessary to identify, to describe, to give more information that is necessarily needed. Adjective clauses that don't require commas are called essential or restrictive or identifying. The name is not that important. Use commas, on the other hand, if the adjective clause simply gives extra additional information that is not necessary, that can be deleted. That's why it's called non-essential, non-restrictive, or non-identifying. Non-essential adjective clauses are more common in writing than in English. So simply speaking, if the information is needed, necessary to clarify, to make the point clearer, to give extra information, you don't use commas. If you use commas, it means this adjective clause is unnecessary. Deleting it is not going to change the meaning or anything. Okay, look at this. When you say the professor who teaches chemistry 101 is an excellent lecturer. Look at here, we don't use commas because this information is necessary. If you delete it, it's going to be confusing. If somebody says, the professor is an excellent lecturer, which one? Which professor? Which professor? I don't know who you're talking about. So you give me necessary information, no commas. But look at this. If you use the name, the proper names, Professor Wilson, if you say Dr. Hassan, Dr. Akram, you know who Dr. Hassan is, who Dr. Akram is. Professor Wilson, who teaches chemistry 101. So here you use commas here because this information can easily be deleted. If you are at the Islamic University of Gaza and somebody tells you, Dr. Akram, who teaches poetry, is an excellent lecturer. If you don't say who teaches poetry, people will still recognize and know who you're talking about because they know him. Same with people with names here, okay? So no commas in A used because the adjective is necessary to identify which professor is meant here. But in B, the commas are used because the adjective clause is not necessary. If you delete it, everybody knows who Professor Wilson in a particular context is. Okay, Hawaii, we know Hawaii in America. It's a state in America in the ocean. Hawaii, which consists of 8 principal islands. I actually don't know this very piece of information, but still we know, we have an idea. Remember, this book is for American and English students, so if you study English, you should know Hawaii at least. Is a favorite vacation. Look at favorites written in the American way. So this is for American students. They should know what Hawaii is. Is a favorite vacation spot. Mrs. Smith, who is a retired teacher, does volunteer work or volunteer work at the hospital. In both cases, we use commas because the information is unnecessary, can be deleted, and everybody will understand who you're talking about or what you're talking about. Okay, the comma in speech, the comma reflects a pause. So you say, Hawaii, which consists of 8 principal islands, is a favorite vacation spot. Use commas in A, in B, and C here if an adjective clause modifies a proper noun. A proper noun is a noun that begins with a capital letter. Like, look at this. The man whom, who or that or no pronoun I met teaches chemistry. So which man? So you don't use commas here because this information is necessary. If you say the man teaches chemistry, everybody is going to say, what man? And then you have to go, the man who I met or something. But when you use a proper noun like Mr. Lee teaches chemistry, Mr. Lee whom I met yesterday teaches chemistry. It's wrong to say okay. There's a piece of information here that, okay, I tried to avoid, but I have to say it just for your knowledge. If no commas are used, any possible pronoun may be used in the adjective clause. Object pronouns can still be committed. Remember, if no comma, again, if no commas are used, it means you can use who, whom, that, which. You can delete which or whom or that. However, when commas are necessary, because you're adding extra information that is not, the pronoun that may not be used, only who, whom, which, whose, where, and when may be used. And the pronoun that, okay, I should have done this before, in English, to distinguish between the word itself, as in the dictionary, and as part of a speech, is to use it between inverted commas. So the pronoun that may not be used. So in this sentence, this is incorrect. Mr. Lee comma, that I met yesterday teaches chemistry. Wrong. Again, if you use commas, that shouldn't be used. You use comma only, commas with whom and which and that, etc., and where and whose. Just for your knowledge, this is tricky sometimes. Now compare the meaning, again the commas and the no commas, G and H. We took some children on a picnic. The children who wanted to play soccer ran to an open field as soon as we arrived at the park. Look at this. There is here an extra piece of information. I'll underline it. We use commas. And look at this one. There are no commas used in this second example. Is there a difference in meaning? Yes, there is a difference in meaning. Remember, if you use commas, it means the information is unnecessary. You can delete the information because the idea is clear. The first sentence says, we took some children on a picnic. Let's say we took 17 children, to make it clear. We took 17 children on a picnic. The children ran to an open field as soon as we arrived at the park. If you say the children who wanted to play soccer, this piece of information between the commas is unnecessary extra information that we already know. If you delete it, the sentence is still going to be the same. So here, what do we understand? How many children in the first sentence wanted to play soccer or football? All of the children. All of the 17 children. So this is why this is extra information. But in the second part, if we took 17 children on a picnic. If we use no commas, remember, it means this is significant. The piece of information here is necessary because we need to distinguish between children who wanted to play and children who didn't want to play. So the children in the second part, the children who wanted to play soccer, only some of the 17 children wanted to play soccer. 5, 10, 15, but not all of them. And this is significant. So in G here, the use of commas means that all of the children wanted to play soccer and all of the children ran to an open field. The adjective clause is used only to give additional information about the children. However, in H, the lack of commas means that only some of the children wanted to play and only those some ran into the field. So the adjective clause is used to identify which children ran. You don't use commas here. Again, choose the correct meaning. This is a very interesting exercise. The teacher thanked the students. I want you to pause the video and try to answer the question. The teacher thanked the students who had given her some flowers. But look at number 2. The teacher thanked the students, no comma, who had given her some flowers. Is there a difference in meaning? Yes. Remember, if this is the sentence with a comma, if you delete it, the idea is clear, it's there. The teacher thanked the students. We understand that she thanked all the students. So this piece of information, we understand that all the students gave her flowers and she thanked all of them. You can delete this. But here you can't delete it because there's no comma. Think of the comma as something you can hold the phrase with and the clause with and throw it away. If there is no comma, you can't throw it away. So the teacher thanked the students who had given her flowers. What we understand here is that some of the students gave the teacher flowers and she only thanked those some who gave her flowers. Think of number 3 and try to look at the exercise, the rest of the exercise. Pause the video again and try to do this exercise. If you have any problem, I know this is tricky. If you have any question, please ask. Now, using expressions of quantity in adjective clauses. And again, this is something I highlighted earlier, and I'm repeating it again because it's necessary. Look at this. In my class, there are 20 students. Most of them are from Asia. So this is, we have two simple sentences. In my classes, there are many students. Most of them are from Asia. Now, this sentence, this is wrong. Sorry, this one is wrong here. You don't, if you replace the full stop with a comma and then smaller, this is wrong because these are two main clauses connected to the comma doesn't connect. I have to say this until everybody gets this idea. But this one is completely correct. What we do here is that most of them, we replace them with whom. Remember, if there is a preposition, we use whom for people, which for things. So this sentence is completely correct. However, if you do it this way, if you use a full stop and then say most of them, most of whom, this is wrong because this sentence, this is an incomplete thought. It's like saying, because he was studying, this is a fragment. There's no complete thought here. It's a dependent supporting clause. He gave several reasons, only a few of which because reasons is a thing. Only a few of which were valid. If you say he gave several reasons, only a few of them were valid, this is wrong because you don't connect with a comma. If you want to fix this sentence, there are many ways to do it. This one, you will replace them with which, it's correct. Or you replace the comma with a false a semicolon, or a full stop and then capital letter here. So he gave several reasons, only a few of them were valid. Remember, this sentence is incorrect. This way, if there is only a few of which, this is also still incorrect. Remember, because the which clause is is a dependent clause, a subordinate clause. It can't stand alone. You need a main clause to be part of it. You don't say because he was sick. You say he's absent, or he was absent because he was sick. The teacher discussed Jim, one of whose problems was poor study habits. One of whose, remember, after now, before the noun, we use whose. The teachers discussed Jim, one of the problems was poor study habits. Now, one of his problems, this is still wrong, remember, because these are two main clauses connected with a comma. The comma doesn't connect. You either use a full stop, capital, or a semicolon, or a fanboys, or a subordinator correctly. So an adjective clause may contain an expression of quantity with some of, many of, most of, none of, two of, half of, both of, etc. The expression of quantity precedes the pronoun. Only whom, which, and whose are used in this pattern. The pattern is more common in writing than English. One of whom, one of which, one of whose. Commas are used here in this structure. Using which to modify a whole sentence. Sometimes we use which and that to modify the whole sentence, to describe the whole sentence. Tom was late. That surprised me. Here, that, this is not that and which. That is that, a pronoun. Tom was late, which surprised me. You use which here to describe the whole, not late, not Tom, the whole idea, the whole clause, the whole Tom was late. So the elevator is out of order. This is too bad. The elevator is out of order, which is too bad. So using which here, again, the commas are, the inverted commas are necessary. Using which to modify a whole sentence is informal and occurs mostly in spoken English, but it's really interesting. He comes to class late, which is bad. Now reduction, next class, in the next video, I'll talk about reduction, but I have to talk about it a little bit here. Remember, a clause is a group of words with a subject and a verb. A phrase is a group of words with no subject, no verb. but basically no verb. So when you say the girl, we want to turn now the clause into a phrase. And again, to give you language variety, to show that you have a variety of English language skills and structures. The girl who is sitting next to me is May. The girl sitting next to me is May. What happened here? We deleted the subject, we deleted the verb to be. So the idea is change the clause into a phrase, delete the subject, delete the verb. If there is a verb to be, you just delete the verb to be. This is from your book again. The man who is talking to John is from Korea, complex sentence. The man talking to John is from Korea, simple sentence. The ideas that are presented in the book are good. The ideas presented in this book are good. Notice, delete subject. If there is a verb to be, delete the verb to be. Don't do anything else. Anne is the woman that is responsible for the error. Anne is the woman responsible for the error. What a beautiful sentence. Reduced. Turns from complex to simple. So rule number one, if there is a verb to be, you delete who or which or that, and you delete the verb to be. If there is no verb to be, you delete who or which or that, and you add ing to the verb. So English has an alphabet that consists of 26 letters. English, the idea is to delete, to get rid of the verb. If there is a verb to be, bye-bye verb to be. No verb to be, you add ing to the verb to change it from verb, a finite verb, to a gerund, non-finite verb. English has an alphabet consisting of 26 letters. Beautiful. Anyone who wants to come with us is welcome. Anyone wanting to come with us is welcome. This is a complex sentence. This is a simple sentence because it has one more clause. And again, you use this reduction with nouns. It's beautiful. It's very common. Paris, which is the capital of France, is an exciting city. Paris, the capital of France, is an exciting city. Donald Trump, who is the 45th president of the United States, is dumb. Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States, is dumb. You delete who, you delete the verb to be, you delete which, you delete the verb to be, and you have a phrase instead. And finally, again, I'll stop here. Please, if you have a question, you can always ask me on Facebook or in the class. I end this with exercises again from your book, Understanding and Using English Grammar. You can pause the video at each of these slides and try to answer the questions and go back to the explanation, go back to your book, go back to the slides. You can download them from Moodle. You can always ask me questions if you have. So this is part one. You can pause the video again here. Try to answer the questions to fix them. Each sentence has an error related to adjective clauses. And finally, pause the video, try to answer these questions. Okay, thank you very much. Goodbye and see you soon.